Hello, my name is Jack Dahan, and this is my report for task 2. 1, 2, 2, not 1, 2. This is task 2 of comparing remakes. Introduction. It's said that necessity is the mother of invention. In the case of Hollywood, however, it can be more aptly said that necessity is the mother of reinvention. It's a familiar sight to see a reimagining of a film long after the original's release. There's this common perception that remakes exist solely to make money, offering nothing new and exploiting what's left of an already established franchise just to make some extra cash. It's a very cynical view, completely without merit, but there are times where it makes perfect sense for people to revisit past films, whether the political and social themes can be made applicable to today's society, expanding upon the intended vision and realizing it to its full potential through whether it's through the power of CGI or just with the compelling actors of today, or simply putting a different creative spin on the source material. That last point was especially true for The Departed, the Oscar-winning remake of 2002's Hong Kong crime thriller Infernal Affairs, not Internal Infernal Affairs. People mistake that. Both films share stark, unforgettable differences in tone, characterization, and even plot. The similarities are overwhelming enough, impossible for anyone who sees both films to fail to notice that they have a common relationship. Now don't be taking a heavy. No, that's not okay. No, that's not how you say it. Now I won't be taking a heavily critical look at the quality of these films and end up deciding which is the overall winner. And that's not going to be the focus of this feature. Instead, we'll be delving more into the behind-the-scenes production, the appealing factors aimed towards their respective audiences, and the synergies that coexist between them. So, let's check them out. Transition. Financial. Both of these films were very successful from the countries that they originate from. The Departed, in particular, was extremely successful, which grossed $26,800,000 in its opening weekend. Wow! Becoming the third Scorsese film to debut at number 1. The film did see declines later in weeks, but it still remained in the top 10 lists for at least 7 of those weeks. The budget was at $90 million, but the film managed to gross in total worldwide almost $290 million, which half of that came from North America, the country in which it is set, becoming one of the most commercially successful of Scorsese's career. Infernal Affairs, however, was made on a budget of 40 million Hong Kong dollars, which roughly translated, is 5.1 million, which is very modest in comparison. While a critical success, it managed to gross only slightly more than its budget at roughly 7.1 million. in US dollars. And it did proceed to break out, and it proceeded to break box office records in different East and Southeast Asian nations. It's safe to assume that unlike other East Asian remakes in the Western world, particularly the horror genre, which we will get to at a later point, the decision to remake it for Western audiences was not completely based on how profitable it would be. It was not completely based on how. It was not complete. I'm going to cut. It's safe to assume that unlike other East Asian remakes in the Western world, particularly the horror genre, such as The Grudge and The Ring, the decision to remake it for Western audiences was not completely based on how profitable it would be, although the premise is still marketable to a wide audience. Technologies of production. As The Departed was filmed only 4 years after Infernal Affairs, and they have minimal special effects to begin with, the technology used to create both is relatively the same, because they're not big movies like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Those are big. For instance, both films are shot on 35mm cameras by the ARRI Group. Although, due to The Departed's larger budget, the developing process was a lot more elaborate than that of Infernal Affairs. Distribution and exhibition. Original distributor of Infernal Affairs in mainland China was the Corporation of the Media Asia Distribution Company. They were the ones who got the film out into cinemas. In the US, however, it was Miramax Films, however, acquired the United States distribution rights of Infernal Affairs and gave it a limited US theatrical release in 2004. After the screenplay for The Departed was completed by William Monahan, Warner Brothers bought the remake rights to the film for a US dollars for $1.75 million in 2003. Coincidentally, Media Age Distribution are the company that distribute The Departed in China, which is ironic when you think about it. Infernal Affairs has its debut in Hong Kong. Infernal Affairs had its debut in Hong Kong on the 12th of December 2004. Not 4, that's when it was in the US. No, it's 2. The Departed was highly anticipated and was released on 6th of October 2006. Both films now enjoy a relatively profitable life in home media, being released on DVD, Blu-ray, and now online streaming services such as Netflix and LoveFilm.